Good morning and welcome back to the current review. My name is Thompson Natu, sometimes known as TT, sometimes known as Chairman. This is the 58th episode of the current review on Central News. And today we are going to be talking about the ongoing Judicial Services Commission's interviews, which have sparked widespread debate across South Africa. Yesterday, the JSC began its intensive process to fill about 26 vacancies across our superior courts, with 54 candidates competing for these 26 roles. The JSC has faced significant scrutiny, not only due to the sheer scale of the task at hand, but also because of recent legal challenges and controversies surrounding certain high-profile figures. The Umkhonto Sizwe Party, for instance, tried to stop the interviews, arguing that the exclusion of their candidate, Dr. John Hlophe, undermines the constitutional rights of opposition parties. This move follows Hlophe's resignation from the JSC amid ongoing debates about judicial impartiality and accountability. And joining us today to unpack this development is Zaman Chona, the spokesperson of the African Transformation Movement. Will explore ATM's perspectives on these JSC processes, what they expect from the round of interviews, and how recent controversies might shape the future of South Africa in their perspective. Good morning, Zama. It seems that there is a lot in our judicial plate. Please tell me, what are the ATM's main expectations from the recent or from the current JSC interviews, given the significant vacancies that need to be filled in our judiciary?
Thank you so much. Good morning to you and the viewers. Well, for us as the African Transformation Movement, we feel that this is a crucial point and a test as far as our constitution is concerned, and also as far as our democracy is concerned. Remember that it becomes important that we have functional arms of government. The judiciary must be fully functional. The executive must be fully functional, and the National Assembly must be fully functional for us to know that we are able to move as a country towards the ideal. But also, it is of outermost importance that the independence of each of the arms of government is maintained. There are no bloodlines, there is no overreach, and we think that this process must actually give us candidates of a caliber where their allegiance is to the law and to the country and no one else. So it becomes very important that we actually go there. Also, you would remember that in recent times, there have been talks about capture of the judiciary by this administration and the capture of the judiciary by that administration, lenience by the judiciary towards this individual, and being... in some cases, people would say that the judiciary was actually, in fact, Lady Justice had eyes. Lady Justice was peeping before deciding on cases. So going into this particular exercise, it becomes pivotal that, one, we see that there is adherence to the constitutional criteria. Now, when you look at that, you will see that in the Constitution, there are provisions of Section 174 and Section 165, where we are looking forward to the appointed candidates that are going to be appropriately qualified. They must be fit for purpose. They must be representative of the South Africa's diverse racial and gender composition. And also, it's going to be important that they uphold the independence of the judiciary. So going into these ones, we are looking for the committee that will sit and actually understand our history and say we know where we are coming from, and the issue of redress and the issue of transformation must be seen happening. So we expect that each and every one of the panelists today would actually be mindful of that. But also, we have seen that it is very easy for the judiciary to seem, even if it is not fully so, seem compromised. But it's going to be very important that we have individuals who are not only qualified, they must be experienced, as individuals, and in their experience, they must show how they are actually aligned to the values that I've aligned above. Issues of understanding transformation according to race, transformation according to gender, and most importantly, that quality which I talked about, which is the independence of thinking and allegiance to the laws of this country. That is going to be important for us as the African Transformation Movement.
And also we've seen that the MK Party recently attempted to hold these interviews, claiming that Dr. John Hlophe's exclusion infringes on the opposition rights. What are your thoughts on this, on the implications of this legal battle for the broader judicial appointment processes?
Thank you so much. First, let's talk about the composition of Parliament. The drafters of the Constitution saw no prohibition of any member who has gone and satisfied the constitutional master that those individuals be elected to committees of Parliament and the various platforms which require services of parliamentarians in. So for us as the African Transformation Movement now, this becomes an important issue when you are adhering to the laws of this country. There is no current prohibition that says Dr. Hlophe must not participate because of a previous ruling when he was a judge on himself. So as the African Transformation Movement, we feel that the drafters of the Constitution, they knew that there could be a possibility that we could have an impeached judge who is not prohibited to actually participate in the political space. But they, of all the iniquities or crimes that could be there, they said, this one we must leave out. We see no point they saw no prohibition. So if there is no prohibition, as according to the laws of this country now, why is it that we're going to find individuals who want that there should be prohibitions? If we want to amend the Constitution, or we want to, as they claim, enrich the Constitution, fine, go for a constitutional amendment. But do not want to implement it now. Know that it is going to apply in the future, because when the impeachment happened, there was no law of prohibition of a man such as Dr. Hlophe. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, we feel that those who actually raised the issue, truly, when you look from the perspective of law, they have no leg to stand on. If they want to argue inconsistencies within the constitution of this country, they must bring that forth. But let the legislators create the law with the assistance of South Africans and then implement the law. But that law, obviously, in our view, shouldn't be used to Dr. Hlophe. It may be used in the future because no such law exists as we stand.
With the DAs and other groups raising concerns about Dr. Hlophe's involvement in the JSE, what stance does the ATM take on judicial accountability and the need for ethical conduct in public office?
In the case of Dr. Hlophe, you have a distinguished individual, well-learned, an individual who has practiced law. In fact, he subscribed to the rule of law and been a participant in the space. That kind of an individual comes in very handy. We know that the bar, unfortunately, is very low for going to Parliament. You don't need a doctorate to go to Parliament. You do not need to be a professor to go to Parliament. Now, to have an individual of such a caliber with his expertise being part of parliamentarians. Now, you have individuals who are not only lawmakers, but students and practitioners of law. So this is why we feel that truly the attempt to actually take Dr. Hlophe out does not look at what else Dr. Hlophe could bring, apart from the issue of prohibition, which I was talking about, which is non-existent. But an individual of this nature who comes with such with such experience could actually enrich the offering instead of lowering the standards as many would think. So this is why as the African Transformation Movement we're of the view that this could have been an opportunity where we have some of the giants in the field of law in respect to Dr. Hlophe who could have actually assisted us, especially with this particular undertaking, the undertaking of looking at the pool that is going to be presented. I think there are about 57 candidates to choose the 20 plus candidates, I think 26. Yes. Yeah, to choose the 26 candidates. Now, who's best? Who would have been amongst the very best with the experience and the knowledge to test these candidates if these candidates adhere to what I was talking about, the transformation, racial transformation, gender transformation, upholding of judicial independence, and other issues. So our stand on the matter is that truly we lost a golden opportunity.
Now, tell me, with the absence of Dr. Hlophe from these interview processes, do you think the JSC process is poorer?
Almost definitely. That number which is given for a reason. And also you must understand that we've often seen a phenomenon where opposition, even when opposition is right, the ruling party would actually suppress, because at the end of the day, the president has a role that he can play in the appointment, or especially of key structures and key individuals to key structures in the country. Now, without replacing Dr. Hlophe as things stand, we are an individual short, and that individual could have actually assisted so that we are able to see maybe where the others may be falling short. Not saying that the members of parliament are inadequate in any way, but we have that number for a reason. And as you would remember, amehlo amabini abona ngcono kunethu. The more eyes we have, we would see better than the limited number. So it would give us a different perspective, especially with his expertise.
I think everybody almost agrees that our country's legal system is quite burdened with an overload of cases, but fewer practitioners in the system. What are your views on the efficiency and the transparency of the current process of the interviews by the JSCs?
Thank you so much. Well, as the African Transformation Movement, we subscribe to transparency, truly. We must also be convinced as the citizens of this country that the candidates that are actually chosen by the JSE are the candidates that also speak sense to who we are. The more these interviews are open to the public, especially on these crucial appointments, it actually also gives an opportunity for the JSE to say, we are marketing the quality that we have. Believe in the judiciary, because this is no judiciary that is going to prefer individuals. No one is going to be given a preferential treatment here. Everybody. So the fairness of the system, you are teaching the citizens of this country to believe that anything that we undertake, especially that this is a new administration. This is the seventh administration. We are talking Grand Coalition, they are talking GNU, and they want us to believe that we are turning a new leaf. They want us to believe that this is a new dawn. They want us to believe that things will never be as they were in the past. So it is an opportunity to campaign for that cause by actually opening it up so that South Africans may see for themselves, test for themselves, and see if we'll be able to actually see fairness being a defining principle of these interviews.
And you know, there has been some reports that some key figures, including Julius Malema of the EFF, were notably absent from the proceedings. How significant do you think, this absence is, and what could be, the signal for the future for the JSE?
Thank you so much. If you watched the commander-in-chief of the economic freedom fighters in the previous performances, he was truly a force to be reckoned with. We cannot take anything away from that. Sharpshooter, clarity, and when you look at how he actually engages, he was able to expose anybody who would have come thinking that they could pull literally a fast one on South Africans. And it is something that, it is a quality that you need. Truly, we can't run away that there are people who have actually, though there are people who sleep in Parliament, but there are people in Parliament who are devoted to the cause. And truly, he is definitely one of those individuals. So it is truly unfortunate that we can't have such an individual of such a caliber being part of this particular process, because truly he is one of the finest sons of South Africa.
And many people have argued that the recent controversies expose the deeper issues within our judiciary. In your view, what structural changes might help to restore, public confidence in the JSC and the judicial system as a whole?
Thank you so much. When we took the president using Section 96 on the violation of the Executive Members Ethics Act to the public protector, and subsequent to that, there was a Section 89 impeachment process, which saw a senior judge, a former Chief Justice, and a senior counsel sitting on the matter and deciding that there was prima facie evidence on the violations of Section 96, Preca 34, conflict of interest, and others. A number of people were looking for an opportunity where the judiciary was going to, or players within the judicial space, even Chapter 9 institutions, were able to gain or grow the confidence of the people of this country on such structures. But when we saw how they actually, just take the issue of other paid work. The president, in his own accord, no gun to his head, is closing a Limpopo conference, says, I am a farmer, I sell animals. The money from my farm were proceeds from a game sale. And after that, he goes for an auction and says Ancolas for millions. And then the conclusion of the public protector says, because he has no contract with himself, then that does not constitute other paid work. These are the missed opportunities. That was an opportunity to say to South Africans, we are independent regardless of who appoints us. We can take decisions even against the one who appoints us. So there were missed opportunities that were there in the past. And if we want to reinstate the confidence of South Africans in the judiciary will have to adhere to its founding principles. And some of those are that we should not at any given stage consider who we are dealing with before we deal with that individual. It must be a case of, this is the law, what have you done? We don't know who you are because we are equal in front of the law. So if the judiciary could go back to its founding principles of equality before the law, issues of fairness, the rule of law, interpretation of the law, regardless of who is coming before the courts, it's only then that as South Africans, we will actually get to a point where we say, you know what, this is the kind of judiciary we want. This is the kind of judiciary we fought for. Remember, there were many unjust cases that were actually conducted in the past, where decisions were not taken on merit, but they would look at you first before they actually decide on how the case is going to be. There must never be any prejudgment of cases, but cases must be actually taken on merit.
And just lastly, and in conclusion, I just want your I'm not sure if we should call it judgment, given that we're talking about judges matters today. But the ATM's judgment on the the 100 days since the formation of the GNU. What do you guys what is your judgment on it? Are we going somewhere? Are we regressing, or it's a stagnation?
The only challenge, one, as the African Transformation Movement, we have had the people of this country when they said, we do not want one political party to govern us, and therefore we are not anti a coalition or the government of national unity. But the only issue that we have is when there is an alignment of political party whose ideology does not speak to each other. I'll make an example. Yesterday, the president said they're going to write a memorial to the International Justice, the ICJ, on the issue of the Middle East. We know where the DA stands on that matter. Now, how long are they going to remain in a marriage where fundamentally they do not agree? The ANC was signing into law the Bella Bill. We know that the Minister of Education was notably missing when that Bella Bill was actually signed. In fact, the DA went further and they said, it is going to be important that you reconsider the Bella Bill, or we would have to rethink our marriage. The biggest problem for the GNU are the fundamental issues around ideology. It's a matter of time. It's a ticking time bomb. We have seen in the already we are beginning to see that these cracks are going to come. And within no time, we're going to see that. The first 100 days, one of the things that were notable are challenges of the Department of the Dr. Schreiber's department, Home Affairs. Challenges facing Home Affairs, even though we are uncovering, but the rot that has actually been seen in that directorate has actually been one of the challenges of the GNU. Extortion has been another challenge of the GNU. Construction mafias, dealing with that has become a problem. The Ministry of Police is truly now being exposed every day. In Lusikisiki, 18 people were murdered. Just a few days later, 6 more people were murdered. In South Africa, on a daily basis, 85 murders a day. In a given year, there are about 27,500 people who are murdered in South Africa, and the GNU has not had a proper response. If you are going to have isolated victories, they do not amount to the challenges. This is why only yesterday we called for a national joint operation that is going to cover the 9 provinces, that is going to cover the 247 municipalities, that is going to go further to the 4,484 wards. Because not until, in fact, we have a recent, when government resolves, you would remember the COVID era. There was a resolve to have a state of emergency to shut down the country, which means if politicians want, they could actually shut down the country and actually rid society of illegal guns, rid society of drugs, illegal immigrants, and all participants and gangs. But unfortunately, the GNU has not shown in its 100 days rather, in its 100 days that it is serious about the eradication of that. And we will see it as the ATM when they say, let's shut the country down and take all the armed forces of this country and deal with criminality once and for all.
Zamantshona, the national spokesperson for the ATM, thank you very much for your time. We hope that you guys continue to make these arguments for the betterment of South Africa. And all the best.
Thank you so much to you and the viewers.
We'll be back again with an interview with the ANC.